Hey y'all, it's your girl Millie Chun. How are you today? Thank you all for being here. I will be talking with Erica Lowe in a few minutes. She's at the White House, so that's that thing. But she just messaged me and she said she'll be joining shortly. So go ahead and put any questions that you may have in the chat for her. I do know that she will not be able to answer any uh, election questions, but she probably can answer other questions that you may have. But she's already messaged me. She says she'll be joining shortly, so I expected that. I didn't expect her to just really be on top of time, but she'll be here soon. So, like I said, if you have any questions you want to ask, if there's anything, you can ask it, but you can't ask anything about. Well, she can't answer anything about the election. I will say that. But I want to talk to her about the documentary that's coming out. I want to talk to her about her experience and how is she today. And I want to talk about like how did she get to be the director of inter what? The director of she was the director of media at first. And how does she get to be the director of public engagement for the White House? So I'm really excited about that. So just hold on. She should be here soon. And like I said, I was not expecting her to be here at tip top time because I know that she has something else that she has to do. So go ahead and put your questions in. If you have a question for me about anything, that would be great too. We can talk about whatever till she gets here. But today, what happened today? I don't know. It's been a light news day, I think. It's been some hot topics going on. But my big thing is that I want to talk to her, and I'll probably read this again, was what she said when everything was happening, how she read her text messages over again after everything had happened. She said, I think I was in a state of shock. I was absolutely terrified. Looking back at the text messages to my family and friends, I just asked them all to pray because I really didn't know what was going to happen. I don't think I truly understood the gravity of what happened until afterwards when I saw the images. And that is dramatic. But those of you who are coming in, I said that she just texted me and she should be in soon. And like I said, I wasn't really expecting her. She's trying to lock. There she goes. Hold on. Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Sorry about that. Had
That's
some
okay. I
delay.
was just telling him I wasn't expecting you to be here on time because I know you're on White House time, so we're on your time.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm here.
How are you today, Erica?
I'm good. I like your
Good.
hair.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
great.
Um,
I'm
I
okay. We're
was
just working out here, It's a sunny day in DC, so I am, it's better than what it has been.
are the cherry blossoms still up or that's over?
I think it's over. That's a good question. Clearly I don't get out much. I think it's I think it's over. But I'm looking out the window. I don't see any, so I'm gonna go with this over.
I love that time of year. Um, First of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking this time out to come to this platform. I really appreciate it. Um, And the reason I wanted you to come is because I wanted my audience to just have another level of understanding about things that's going on. And I talked about the documentary that you have and what all that means. And to speak to someone who was in one of the most traumatic stages that we have had since we've been here in this world.
Yeah,
So um,
that happened.
it happened. It happened. So I know you're from Miami. So if there are any Miami people, shout out to the 305, right?
Till I die.
So how did you get to be like what did you go to school to do?
So I went to the University of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to do, I don't know, I was always the kid in class that talked too much and like would always get in trouble for talking or like being a class clown or doing something I probably wasn't supposed to be doing. So I knew I wanted to do something that involved like it wasn't gonna be math and it involved like writing and talking and the like. So I went to the journalism school and I decided I thought I was gonna be like a news anchor. I thought I was gonna be Oprah. But then the more that I learned, I decided I was going to do public relations.
Okay.
And so I went and got a degree in public relations. And then when I graduated, I was trying to figure, I was mulling law school and all these other options. And I was trying to figure out what I could do to make my parents like get off my back about graduate school and the like. And, Barack Obama happened to be president. And everybody's mama and grandma had a picture of him in their house. So I was
Right.
like, let me figure out a way to get to DC and do the White House. Like I was like, the White House internship would for sure shut them up. And so I applied and I got rejected. And I was like, well, let me just try again. So then, a year later, I applied again and I was waitlisted. So I was like, okay, well, that's not a denial. So I had family who lived here in DC. I was in Florida. So I ended up getting another internship, which I did by day, and I would just like meet with various people at night and basically try to just work my way into from a maybe to a yes.
Okay.
And God worked it out. And I had family who let me live in their basement, and I just kind of met the right people, and I got the White House internship, and my parents were thrilled,
Yeah.
and that was kind of it. And then here we are. What was that, 2012? And now it's 2024, and it's kind of like full circle, and I'm back in the White House. It was Obama Biden, now it's Biden Harris,
Yeah.
and working in this role. So it worked out.
It definitely worked out. It definitely worked out.
Yeah.
And I love that for you. So when you came into your role, what was your first position? Because you haven't always been the chief of staff for
No.
public
So I
engagement.
came in as director of African American media, which was essentially it was on the White House communications team, and the role was to one make sure that Black media is prioritized. Like obviously ABC, NBC, CNN, the big boy networks, they have tons of resources, tons of access. They've historically had access to this building. But then you have the BETs and the Griots, Millie Chun TV, others who one haven't always had access, don't even know where to begin to have access, aren't always understood by government officials or predominantly white settings, and don't always have the money and the resources to just kind of jump on a plane and get to DC at any moment. So
Right.
my job was to make sure that there was someone here that was communicating directly to our people, making sure that our media outlets that we follow and that we listen to have access, and that there's messaging going out to our communities about issues that we care about.
Well, I would like to thank you for being Millie Crew at the White House. I appreciate that.
We try to make
That's
sure that the
awesome.
doors
That's
are
awesome.
kicked as open as possible, because they say we built this joint for free, so we might as well have access to it.
I know that's right. So, the chief of staff, public engagement for the White House. So, how long have you been in that position?
So I started as Black Media Director in April of 2021, and then I started as Chief of Staff for Engagement in August um,
Okay.
of 2023. So that was a step up, and into a different department, but still very similar goals. Like the goal is to make sure that our people and people of color and various disenfranchised or marginalized communities have the same access as everybody else.
Okay. And so that is what basically you do for you put us out there and you give us space for the world to see.
Yeah,
And I
it's
love
just
that.
less media, and now it's more just kind of everyday people.
Okay. Okay. So what I asked you to come for was because I saw that there's a documentary and it's called The
The six.
Six. And how did that come about?
Well, how did that come about? It's been a while since I actually, we filmed it a couple years ago. I tell people that was skinnier times. I look different than than I do now in the film. But I guess how it came about, honestly, was on January 6th. We were still in the throes of a pandemic. So
Mhm.
there weren't a whole lot of staffers working in the Capitol that day. There were some, obviously, but I think the vast majority were probably still working from home. So we were some of the few staffers that were there. And as a result, I was one of the staffers in pictures posted by Washington Post and other outlets that picked them up of what it
Right.
was like to be a member of staff, barricading in an office, um, trying to keep out the insurrectionists.
Right.
So that happened. And then I think those pictures just kind of went everywhere. And we became the face, or at least the staffer faces of January 6th. And so from there, I think people who knew me just started to recognize. And as various outlets and you know, entities were trying to figure out who to reach out to hear the story, a number of people reached out to me. At first I didn't really do any interviews or conversations about it because I didn't want to talk about it anymore.
No.
And then I did a HuffPost story. Huffington Post reached out and they came at me with, it was very respectful, and they were very thoughtful in the way that they wanted to have this conversation. So I said, I'll do that, and that's it. But then it was actually a coworker of mine who, worked in the media space that said that A24 was interested in doing a documentary and explain the concept. And again, it seemed thoughtful. Like a lot of people were just reaching out and they just wanted to, they want to talk about Trump, or they want to talk about things that either I can't talk about by law or that I don't want to talk about. And then there are those who actually want to hear your story and
Yeah.
why it's important. Um, why it's important that we don't allow something like that to happen again. And
Right.
they want to hear like the real story, the fact that because of a very problematic moment in history, and because we had a leader in office that decided it was okay to literally risk our lives, and that this was not about politics, this was actually about our lives being in danger. Those are the stories that I'm interested in being told. Like, I don't want to talk about the politics of it. I don't
Right.
want to talk
Right.
about the Trump administration. I
Right.
want to talk about the fact that there was someone in power that day that thought it was okay to hurt and potentially kill innocent people, and I was one of them.
So, if you don't mind, just for like a little bit, can you just take us back to the moment? Because on the promo that I did for speaking with you today, I had some of those photos in there, and they're very shocking. Just the group photos, the black and white photos with the yelling, the people with tear gas. It's just really, it's mind blowing. It's crippling a little bit, but um, can you just take us back to a little bit the moment, like right before it happened, up until that moment that you were on the photo with your hands up?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I think back now. Hindsight is 2020, right?
Mhm.
So in that moment, I just had a lot of, I was overconfident. I had a lot of confidence in the building, the secure building that I thought I was in. I had a lot of confidence in the Capitol Police Department. It's like you can't make a wrong turn without Capitol Police running up on you, right? So I was like,
Right.
oh, well, surely they're not going to let a whole bunch of crazy insurrectionists come in here because I can't even pull up to the wrong parking space. So I was like, we're good. And we got a standard email. There's always protests in DC. That's the
Mhm.
beauty of democracy in this country. You're welcome to protest, and there were always
Correct.
protests in this town. And so we got a notification that there would be protests, and it's like, okay, cool. They told us to, maybe those of us who parked right on the Capitol proper, you might want to park your car in the garage. I did that, thank God. So, but I eventually started noticing that things were a little different though. because it's like we did the protest, but then there was a woman that I worked with, and she had been there for years, and she was a nice Southern woman. I worked in a South Carolina office, and she said you might want to take those pretty little heels off and put some comfortable shoes on. That was my first tell. And so I was like, well, she's been here for a long time. And she said, I've been here a long time. And I would just tell you, you might want to have some comfortable shoes on. So I was like, okay. I still was like, oh, it's going to be fine, whatever. We were looking out the window. We saw them kind of getting closer, gaining ground. But even then, we were just like, this is crazy. This is funny. They got it, right? So I was like, it's going to be fine. So then eventually, you started hearing, I guess there are like these sound systems that I didn't even know were in the office where folks can communicate. We started hearing them beeping and people talking. I was like, okay, that's different. But even then, I still was like, this is one of the safest buildings in the world. Is that people are just being dramatic. But I changed my shoes, I had my stuff together, but I was just like, it's fine. So then eventually they said, it's probably time to evacuate. So I was like, okay, I'll go home. That's fine. You don't have to tell me twice. So, they decided that we were going to go 2 by 2. And then all of us were told to come and gather in a communal space, and we go 2 by 2. And then 2 people left, and as soon as they left, they ran back and they were banging on the door, and they were like, they're inside, they're inside. And that's when it got a little real, but it still wasn't real enough. I was like, okay, they're inside. We just gonna, wait here, and the police are gonna get them, and it's gonna be fine. It took me a really long time to believe, and I think that's just how much faith I had, in the system,
right?
And just in democracy in general. Like, there's no way that they're going to upend this democratic process. Like,
right.
These votes are going to get certified today, and there's no way that they are going to break in or take over the United States Capitol. Like, that's unheard of to me. I just
Absolutely.
But the people who had lived a few more years, they clearly were not surprised. I was over here like, this is not a thing. So it wasn't until we started, so we had a TV in the office, and we also had windows. So it wasn't until I started seeing Capitol Police basically being taken over. They were exhausted. They were pouring water in their eyes. They were trying to, clearly they were not okay. So I saw that. And then I saw on TV actually that, the Capitol had been intruded.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, this is a very real thing. So
Yeah.
we turn. It clearly it takes me a minute to, my mom always said I was hard headed.
Clearly.
I learned that day to pay attention. So yes, we turned the lights off, and basically the plan was just to like play dead, pretend that you are not there, and in hopes that they will solve this problem and we will get out without a problem. But our office, I worked for Majority Leader Jim Clyburn. His office was right above Nancy Pelosi's. We were right off the House floor, so we were in the thick of it, and they knew where they were going. So they came up, and we could hear them. And we weren't sure who it was, but you could hear them talking. And they were banging on the door, and they were trying to open the door violently. And then you could hear them laughing, and they were saying, "Oh, they're hiding from us, and come out." And you could hear that it was them. So that would happen just a couple times. I guess folks were coming up and down the stairs. I couldn't see, honestly, but I mean, I could see what was happening on the TV, right. And I could hear the door violently being shaken, and I could hear them kind of laughing and taunting us. So we just were as quiet as possible. And really, I just spent the day looking around, trying to figure out what office supply I could use as a weapon in the event that we had to fight for our lives. And that's what we were preparing to do. Every time it was fine. I was texting, friends and family. And it wasn't until they would come back and shake the door that I was like, now it's time. So we were grabbing letter openers and bottles and staplers and whatever you can find. We were like, we are going to have to fight our way out of here. And that was just kind of what it was. And you also learn a lot about your colleagues, because some people handle pressure a little better than others.
Wow.
That day we were just in it together.
So I'm going to read your quote here that you shared with Huffington Post. I think I was in a state of shock. Clearly, you were in a state of shock. I was absolutely terrified. Looking back at the text messages to my family and friends, I just asked them all, to pray because I really didn't know what was going to happen. I don't think I truly understood the gravity of what happened until afterwards when I saw the images. So that equals exactly what you're telling us.
Yeah.
But I know that you had to be afraid. Just the fact that you would think that you would have to fight for your life. I don't know what I would do. Like you never think you have to think about that. That's a lot.
Yeah, no, it was a lot.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's funny that those pictures exist because we allowed some reporters to take shelter in the office. I think I saw some comments, some crazy, ridiculous comments saying that like these were staged and we had photographers, and it's like, well, no, we were in the Capitol building, which is a heavily covered building by journalists.
Yeah.
Journalists are always there, but they're also people, and those people were in the line of fire and they asked for shelter and we gave it to them.
Yeah.
Now, in that moment, I was extremely mad that they were taking those pictures, because I said to them, this is not the time to get your Pulitzer. We need you to help push this table against this door. I was pissed. However,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
hindsight, I
And they
recognize,
were probably thinking about their Pulitzer.
yes, but
Yeah.
in hindsight, I recognize the value in those pictures existing, because those pictures, I mean, I can't imagine what they did for the world, but they definitely helped me see and understand what it was that we went through that day. Because it took me the same way it took me forever to process that this building was under attack. It
Hmm.
took me even longer to process just the magnitude of what happened to us that day.
Wow. I really hate that you had to go through that, but you have a moment in time that it's stuck in our history, and you are definitely a part of it, and we can see you being a part of that. So as far as going forward and today, like how are you coping? Do you have a little PTSD? Like what is going on with you?
I always think I'm fine. And I also think it's like Black women, we're kind of conditioned to just bounce back and move on.
Mhm.
But I definitely have moments,
Yeah.
particularly because I work in, one might argue, an even more high profile building, that is always subject to protests.
Yeah.
My dad says I'm a glutton for punishment, and I say I'm a glutton for democracy.
Mhm.
But I work in a building where there's constantly protests, and there are times where they get a little rowdier than usual, and I think back, or I have feelings of fear that I didn't used to have before. Like it is not co- it is not like I used to expect the authorities to just take care of it. I
Okay.
don't expect that anymore. Like
Okay.
I know better now, and I know not to be so cocky or arrogant to believe that what happened can't happen again, or that I'm in the safest building in the world. So while I trust that it's gonna be okay, I know to pack my running shoes always,
Oh
um,
wow.
because you just never know.
You just never know.
Yeah.
And it is supposed to be one of I know whenever I'm in DC and like in that area, if I'm around the White House or the Roosevelt building or something like that, it's police everywhere.
Yes.
You
And
do
so it
you
gives the illusion of safety.
yes, it's
Um,
definitely the illusion.
and I believe that they are doing the best that they can. But I
Mhm.
also have now lived a little bit more life,
Mhm.
and I know that I should be prepared for anything.
Okay. So when is the documentary supposed to come out and where can we see it?
So May 3rd is when it comes out. I
Okay.
know Amazon Prime is one of the locations where it can be seen. My understanding is it can be seen in other places as well. And I'm gonna find that out today because we have our first premiere. So I don't actually know where else it's gonna be streamed, but I do know on May 3rd it will be on Amazon Prime.
Okay, Amazon Prime on May 3rd.
Mhm.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Erica? Is there anything you would like to know? I know you can't answer anything about the election, but can you tell us something that could help us in any kind of way?
I can tell you that it is important to vote. and to voice your opinions. And I can tell you that there are, I can tell you about who I work for. I can't tell you about anybody else, but I can tell you that I work for someone who believes in democracy. I can tell you I work for someone who's never trying to overthrow an election. Someone who doesn't have any felonies on his record. Um, and someone who, if you actually check the facts and check the receipts, has done more for our people than a lot of previous presidents combined.
Okay.
So that's who I work for. You vote for who you want to vote for.
Well, I'm going to vote for who I want to vote for, more likely, but I'm not happy that he signed TikTok to be banned. I'm not happy. I didn't voice my opinion loud enough about that.
I can't speak to
I
TikTok.
I know you can't.
Call your congressman
Okay.
who passes these
Uh,
legislation and sends it to his desk.
my
Um,
my congressman probably typed it up, so I
well,
can't.
your Congress, no comment.
No comment. I'll leave that alone. We'll just put that in the hands of the Lord and keep it moving.
Amen.
Uh, but other than that, Eric, I really want to thank you for giving us the time today. I know you're busy, and I know you're working for us, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate you being there for us too, and giving us a voice and getting Black media out there, getting all those things out there. I mean, everything is just, we do need all the help that we can get, and having people like you really helps.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm trying my best, so I appreciate you and thank you for giving me a platform.
Absolutely.
Talk about it.
You're welcome to come to Millie Chan TV whenever.
Thank you, Billy Chun.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody, for being here and listening to Erica. The documentary will be out
May 3rd.
May 3rd. As of right now, you can see it on Amazon Live and Amazon Prime. And she said she's going to a premiere today, so we'll know more.
There's a DC premiere today, yeah. So we'll
So
find out more then.
just message me and let me know, and I can let everybody else know.
Okay, I appreciate
I appreciate you too, Erica. It's so good to see you.
you.
Y'all have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye.